There is an after tribulation because of grace. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is part 3 of our 5-part series, The After of Tribulation. But that really defies definition, because the idea of tribulation is that that's it, right? And in the previous study, if you haven't watched that, we talked about the historical abomination of desolation, where Israel was destroyed in AD 70. But even after that tribulation, there was grace. But in spite of that tribulation, there's an after tribulation. And it's no different even when we look forward now to the great tribulation that Jesus describes prophetically, the days before he comes. After those days, he's going to come, and he is still going to come because of grace. So before we look at the after tribulation brought to us by grace, I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. However you're watching this video, we appreciate you taking that 2 seconds to pass it on to at least one person to encourage them. And if that's not enough, feel free to visit us online, changeministry.org. That's the website. There's a prophecy series. You can check that out online. Even look at this link below, go right to it. Check out this link right here below the video, and I'll even put it in the description so you can go there right now and see all the good things God has in store for his children. There is an after a tribulation because of the grace of God. So now Jesus just dealt historically with the abomination of desolation that would take place in Jerusalem because of Jerusalem's rejection of Jesus. So after that time, there's going to come another time. We pick it up here in verse 19 where he says, "For in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation which God created unto this time, neither shall be. And except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake, whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days." But for the elect's sake. But even after the abomination of desolation, there's going to be a period of time that is so intense that Jesus says that if those days were not shortened, nobody would survive. But the reason why the days will be shortened is for the elect's sake. So there's going to be an elect on the other side of the abomination of desolation. And then there's even going to be an elect on the other side of this tribulation that Jesus is prophesying. What are these days that he is shortening, or I should even say these days that he's numbering? They're the days that Daniel's numbered in Daniel chapter 7. And remember, Daniel already prophesied in chapter 9 about the abomination of desolation. So it's no surprise that we would go back to Daniel to see about these days that Jesus said, if they're not shortened, no one's going to make it. All right, so let's go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 23 to look at these days as mentioned in Daniel. Well, Daniel says, "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall rise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first. And he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High." And here are these days of tribulation that Jesus would prophesied of, that he will wear out the saints of the Most High and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. We have covered this particular prophecy many times here at Change, and we have seen it through Daniel 7 and through Daniel 9 and in Revelation that this time period was the great dark age where the Roman papacy ruled the earth both politically and religiously. There's no argument as to what that time frame was, because we can look back and see exactly what happened. The papacy itself has testified to its place in this time in history, even though we don't hear much about it. When we look back at this time and see that the times, and the dividing of times was another way in terms of 3.5 years, where you get to then 1260 days. But remember, in the day for a year principle, that would be 1260 years. And it's in the year 538 where you see the papacy ascending to the point of being, again, both a political and religious power, that the Dark Age begins. During this time, the saints, the elect, the people of God are persecuted, almost to the point of extinction. Jesus is speaking about this time when he's talking there in Mark 13. But here we are in 2024. Here we are on the other side of the 1260 days. It's not by chance. It's not by luck. It is by grace that we are here. Mark 13:24, Jesus says, but in those days, talking about his grace, after that tribulation, to confirm it, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. Now, just in case there's any doubt about the power of grace, it's because of God's grace that the elect are able to be on the other side of that tribulation. What was this day that Jesus was prophesying? Well, it happened on May 19th in 1780. In fact, I'll read straight from the Journal of Literature and Politics in Portsmouth, Massachusetts, where it says that the dark day, May 19th, 1780, is thus described by Mr. Stone in his History of Beverly. The night succeeding that day was of such pitchy darkness that in some instances, horses could not be compelled to leave the stable when wanted for service. About midnight, the clouds were dispersed, and the moon and stars appeared with unimpaired brilliancy. This is that prophecy where Jesus is saying that the sun would be darkened and the moon would not give her light. Again, confirming on the other side of tribulation, there's going to be one sign that Jesus said and that they will see. But that's not the only thing. He said that the stars would fall. Let's go back to history where on the night of November 12th through the 13th in 1833, a spectacular meteor storm fell over North America. It created the appearance of millions of shooting stars raining down from the sky. This phenomenon came to be known as the Leonid meteor storm. Both amazed and terrified those who witnessed it when as many as 150,000 meteors per hour fell like fiery snowflakes from the sky. Now, the thing that's interesting about this supposedly being a meteor shower is that nobody was injured when this happened. And it really gives us an understanding cosmologically as to what an actual star is. But I'll digress because that's not really the focus of what we're looking at. But we know on that night, that was the sign. The second sign that Jesus gave, confirming that there's going to be an after. When he confirmed that there's going to be an after the dark ages. Jesus is showing us that he is Lord of Lords, and God is showing us that he is the Most High, and that whatever they say goes and nothing else will. I want to encourage especially those of us who find ourselves in tribulations that we have created and we don't feel like we're good enough for God. The reason why that argument is so powerful, because that's true. We are not good enough for God. But thanks be to God that it's not based on how good I am that I am saved, but based on how good he is that he chose to save us. He gave us his only begotten son. And he's trying to tell us, look on the other side of tribulation, and that's where you'll find me. I'm here with you, even in you by my spirit. But if you keep your eyes on me, I'm going to bring you on the other side. And you look back on that thing and say, how did I get here? And you realize you're standing on God's goodness because you're standing on God's grace.